So one good example for that,
Yes.
I do a lot of marriage counseling.
Uh-huh.
This woman is saying, they were sitting right here, and this woman was saying, he never does anything.
Mm-hmm.
I've had it with him. He never does anything.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's pretty extreme.
Mm-hmm.
He says, she's crazy. She's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
There is nothing you ever asked for that I didn't do.
Mm-hmm.
She says, no, you don't do anything. What's going on here?
Right.
What am I missing here? Right?
Mm-hmm.
So it turns out what she meant was, you never do anything unless I ask.
Right.
Well, what's wrong with that?
Mm-hmm.
Ask and I'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's feminine.
Mm-hmm.
You're just responding
Right.
instead of leading. So she's upset that he does everything she asks.
Yes.
Right? It's like, anyway, interestingly, at the end of this conversation, she says, you know what? I'm finished.
Mm-hmm.
I've had it. I can't do this anymore. Let's just get divorced.
Mm-hmm.
He says, if that's what you want, then I'll give you a divorce.
And he does it again.
He does it. And she turns to me and she says, you see?
Yeah, he does it again. Yeah.
So it's not that women do too much for men.
Mm-hmm.
They do the wrong things. Instead of nurturing what is good, they pinch hit for him.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you don't want to do the bills? I'll do the bills.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to take out the garbage? I'll take out the garbage. You know,
Mm-hmm.
don't do that.
Oh, absolutely not. Like I said, I believe men have to earn marriage, right? They're not entitled to it, because if they don't prove themselves worthy of standing on their own, they're not going to be good partners. They're going to be totally dependent on the woman. A lot of men
And
look
they're going to force the woman into a masculine role,
mm-hmm.
and then they hate themselves, they hate each other.
Mm-hmm.
The whole thing is messed up.
And so the thing about it is that in each and every last one of us, we both have masculine and feminine within us. No life can exist without those two principles. So women have they have a more of a balanced side to this masculine and feminine thing. The male is really tipped on the physical level of masculinity, and he believes that just his physical vessel is the only masculine part of him. What he hasn't realized is there is a thing of mental masculinity and mental femininity, that men haven't typically accessed the mental masculine part of it, and they don't have that level of willpower and self-control to direct their energetic forces to a goal.
That's when it falls apart.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But I'm trying to look at the ideal.
Mm-hmm.
If everything was if we were normal,
Mm-hmm.
what would we be? It's hard to imagine.
Right.
Like, can you imagine normal people?
Well,
So,
we can go back to them men fighting fighting while women were just taking care of things. What makes men fight each other? What makes them behave? Even if this capitalistic system was not here, how would men behave just amongst themselves without women in the picture? How would they, if women were over there and the men saw them over there, how would they behave with each other to get the attention of those women?
they would be completely frustrated and bored because they sense no need.
Mm-hmm.
And their entire existence is a response to a need.
Mm-hmm.
So we need each other, which is good. If we could identify that need
Mm-hmm.
and apply ourselves to it,
Mm-hmm.
we would both be very, very healthy.
The only thing I think I halfway agree with you there. The part that we're diverging in is the need part, where because need creates a level of dependency. Because there's three levels. There's dependency, then there's independence, and then there's interdependence. The dependence part is where a person is totally needy and really leaning externally on other people. There has to be a move to a level of independence where you do become a value add. And then once you get to this value add where you know exactly what you bring to the table, then you can move to a level of interdependence where you can collaborate, right? Where two whole people actually put into a pot together. When
I agree 100%.
Yes.
But you're working your way up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to work my way down. Right? It's like, if you don't mess up, you will be interdependent. Just don't mess up. In other words, you're starting off healthy. Don't mess it up. Instead of saying, oh, we're all messed up, how do we get back to normal?
Well, that's more of a realistic thing.
It is.
We are in a system that breaks people, that breaks everybody. And so
because our values are neither male nor female.
Our values.
Money.
Yes.
That's not male or female.
It's what it is because everything is an energy, right? So whether it's male or female, it's either in a masculine or feminine energetic position. So
if it's a man or a woman doing it.
Well, no. Because even like I said with electronics, there's a masculine and feminine principle. That's not man or woman, but that is a masculine and feminine principle.
Yeah, and they don't mess up.
Yeah. Right. So with the human, there is a need for survival. Like the body needs food, air, water. That's an absolute need for survival. The problem comes in with the male and in the male where the need for a woman is just about as high as the need for air and food and water.
To be feminine.
Yes. And so women don't have this need for man in the same category that men have a need for woman. Food, sex, sleep, water, all of these things, and then you throw a woman in there with that. The man does not exist at that capacity for women. So because of that imbalance in need, there's a lot of pressure put on the woman to perform a certain way for the male's fragile ego. And if the male never begins to strengthen his own ego to draw from within without having to depend on a woman, it's going to be a very difficult thing because especially with the shift in society, women are tired of men depending on them for everything. And a lot of times women are doing everything that they can, and it's still not working. No amount of praise. If the man doesn't have a sense of independence within him, nothing that the woman does, no amount of praise, that's not going to work because he's still always going to be unhappy. Immanuel Kant said, give a man everything he desires, and at that moment, everything is not everything. It's like a bottomless pit with a lot of men, and we have 8 billion people on the planet now. Half of those 8 billion are men. And if the default setting for men is fragile ego and the need for external validation while everybody is in a place of survival, somebody's not going to make it. Somebody ain't going to make it. And I think he's not going to make it if he can't draw from within. Because we have to.
So here's the secret.
Mm-hmm.
This is the punchline. I think this is like that.
Yeah.
This need for validation for a man, there's only one really good solution.
What is it?
Every man should admit and be comfortable with the fact that he's nothing.
They should.
You start off 0,
Mm-hmm.
and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Don't try to be something when you're nothing.
Right.
But this insignificant creature can do the most significant things.
Can.
That's male.
Mm-hmm.
Male means I'm not the needy one. I provide for the needy. And I am still nothing. And that's okay. So I don't need compliments on my tombstone. I need to know that I created tombstones.
Right.
I made a contribution, not I became something.
Right.
The harder men try to be something, the more feminine they're going to become.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree with that. And you know what? That's a major challenge that they would have to overcome, because the ego,
because they're not taught.
Yeah, and who can teach them? Only a man. Another man can teach them. A woman can't, because
only a man
mm-hmm.
who has already made peace with
Correct.
the fact that he is nothing.
Yes, that's the only one. And
that's like a grandfather.
Right, and how many of them are there?
And who listens to a grandfather?
Right, and so herein lies the problem. It's an eternal problem that can never be solved unless the male himself, because a woman can't do this work for him, he would have to wake up and say, you know what? I'm going to have to do things different. This is just the way it is. And in order for him to get to this is the way it is, he would have to flex his critical thinking process and override the emotion that exists at the lower nature and the ego place. This is a very, very hard thing for a man to do.
Especially when he's told to do the opposite.
Yes.
Become the best, become great.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No. Just do.
That's it.
Because imperfect people can do perfect things.
Correct.
Tiny people can do heroic things. So stop trying to be a giant.
Right.
Look at all the stories. Our children are raised on stories.
Right.
All the stories in the Bible, for example, nobody is becoming great. They're serving something great.
Correct.
Even in all the fairy tales, the simpleton, the country bumpkin, who is not a general and he's not a king, but he does something for the king, and he gets to marry the princess. That's how you become masculine. Don't try to be something. Do something for someone who is. Today, all our heroes are super. Right? Wrong image. Tell me how the simple person can do something magnificent for the important people. Don't make me the important person. It doesn't work. We're not Superman.
Right.
And we shouldn't be. We should be very humble creatures, knowing that we have no intrinsic absolute value, but what we do is divine.
I totally agree with that, and it's hard for a male to hear that.
I know.
It's and it might land easier coming from you, but me being a woman, they're gonna crack, which they do all over, because I have videos out there that are pretty viral that say virtually the same thing. That the male doesn't have any innate value. This is not his.
And doesn't need it.
It doesn't. But everything is feeding the male's ego in the society. And this is what creates narcissistic personality disorder, because NPD is a disorder. In order to find out a disorder, you would have to first establish order. Right?
It's a disorder because it's unnatural.
It's unnatural. And so what are we doing to create this disorder? We're unnaturally inflating the male ego, and he sees himself as something he's not. So when you tell him at this point where he believes he's something he's not, that he's nothing or he doesn't have intrinsic value, this is when things go crazy. But at some point, the truth has to be established so that we can get back to a natural way of life, right? And so this is very hard for men to hear. Women have a responsibility to understand this, because the woman cannot continue to give
masculinely.
They can't continue to give to the male in the way that they have been given, because what they're giving is a lot of energy that makes the male function in a lazy way. He doesn't get up and do. And here's the tragic thing is this. The male has to sink or swim. He has to sink or swim. And nobody can actually save him. He can only save himself. Men create great things with the use of muses, but they don't touch the muses. These are inspirational figures for them to do wonderful things like art and things like that. But society has handicapped men to a great extent. And I think what is unfortunate about this entire thing is that during the handicapping process, they never set the male up to succeed in doing something. And now where they are is pulling the rug from under men and letting them fall on society in total confusion. And now where we are, women are pretty much getting up and walking away from playing the motherly role to men, because the wife is not the wife, she's actually the mother. He leaves his mother and he goes to a new mother, which is the woman, which makes it
everybody crazy.
It makes everybody crazy. And he's expecting his mother. And if you, I'm not certain if you've listened to any of the Manosphere content. You had a gentleman who's passed along. His name is Kevin Samuels. Then you have Andrew Tate, which is a very volatile character that is radicalizing young men who feel like they can't find their way, because the whole idea is women are not taking care of them the way they should, and that's the entire thing. And women are at the point where they don't want to do this anymore. So men are finding themselves in a very peculiar situation where they don't have the skills to do, they don't have the desires to do, and now the crutch that they've leaned on so long is like, adios, we don't want you because you're what? Nothing. They're being reminded that they're nothing, even though you have people telling them that they're everything. The TV is telling you you're everything. The music is telling your greatest athletes or role models. You look up to them and it looks like they're everything and you aspire to be that. And somewhere along the line, you delude yourself into believing that you are that.
That's right. So here, when you say telling men that they're great and that they're building their male ego, that's not male ego.
What is it?
It's not male.
Mm-hmm.
To tell them you're perfect, you're great, you're smart, that's not male.
It's not male. No, right, because that's not that's not the nature or the existence of an actual male.
Exactly right.
In nature, right?
Exactly right.
And so they have been blown into a completely unnatural identity, and they are trying to force through their physical will to bring about this fairy tale that they've been living in. Yeah. And this has done a major detriment to everybody.
So children, we know, because we're very smart, we know that we should never say to a child who does something really bad, we should never say you're a bad boy.
No.
What you did was bad.
Yes.
That's like psychology 101.
Yes.
Never say you're bad.
Right.
Say that was wrong. That was bad.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay.
But then when the child does something very, very positive and good, we don't say that was good.
Right.
We say you're an angel. You're so good. You're such a... Don't do that.
Correct.
To boys.
Correct. To boys. And I try to
always focus on the act, the accomplishment, what's good about what they did.
Yes.
Don't build an ego that is not even masculine.
Correct. I totally agree with that. I've told women this a few times, that when you see a male do something that is good, you have to acknowledge that, right? And so I'll give you an example, because earlier you said that the bad thing that's happening is people view content and they say, oh, you're taking this side or you're taking that side. They're not actually viewing the whole truth. There was a video of an incel, involuntary celibate, who found an outlet to speak to others who were in his position. He was not talking to women. He did not make this video for women. I got a hold of the video and I listened to what he was saying, and I wanted to give my commentary on that video. The two things that I noticed about that video within the first 14 seconds is, number one, this guy has a job. Number two, he has found an outlet to express his emotions about what situation he's in while still governing himself to function in society without doing bad things to people. And based on what I know about men and their difficulties in communicating, their difficulties in expressing their emotions, I felt that that was a good thing to be done, to find an outlet of self-expression while still contributing or doing something like having a job. Because a lot of involuntary celibates, they're not doing anything but sitting in their mom's basement playing video games and being angry at the world without even expressing healthily where they are. And we have some people who are upset and find that it's necessary to kick people when they're down. I don't believe in kicking people when they're down. I don't believe in not acknowledging when people do things that are conducive, but not just for self, but as the overall whole, because the world that we're living in is rapidly declining and putting everybody in a very bad position. When you see somebody doing something good, acknowledge it. As quick as we are to acknowledge when people do bad things, we have to acknowledge when people do good things. And that, you're correct. Acknowledging when people do good things is not feeding the ego. When you tell people you're this, you're that, you're special, that does blow a person's ego so far out, because it's never about the self. When you're really living spiritually, it's never about you. It's about what you can do for others. It is about the value that you add to the planet and the community. And it doesn't matter if it's male or female. It's really about what you do to help sustain and nurture life and function together. Ego is the biggest problem in this world.
And that's where religion goes bad.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because religion is supposed to satisfy you.
Yes.
No, it's not.
Right.
It's supposed to tell you how you can serve the Creator.
Correct.
So that the Creator is satisfied.
Mm-hmm.
And that's your pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
The pleasure of serving, not the pleasure of taking.
Correct. And
that's both male and female.
That is both male and female. But here's the biggest reason why people can't grasp that, is because the servitude to God has been tainted. There is
give me.
Yes, it's an alternate God that's not the true God, because the true God that you would be serving, that God put everything inside of you that you needed to express, to actually be that value add. And when you're living your true authentic self, you are serving God, because your true authentic self is adding value to the planet and others. Most people are going to churches and they're just giving up all of their resources to a pastor, and they're being told this is how you're serving God. That's not God that you're serving. You doing what some man wants you to do is not actually serving God, because you're looking externally for this God, when everything that you needed to be to serve the true divine Creator is within you. The moment that you start looking outside of yourself, you're off the path.
Well, if you're serving God in order to have a seat in heaven,
Mm-hmm.
You're not serving Him, you're buying a seat in heaven.
Correct. I agree.
It's just a purchase.
Yes.
You're not serving Him.
Correct.
And that's, if you really want to go back to where did all this begin? Mm-hmm. It all began when people started preaching, mm-hmm. You are so dependent on God.
Right.
God is perfect and you're in trouble.
Right.
That's the beginning of the end.
Yes.
I am not in trouble. I'm just a human being.
Right.
God needs something.
Right.
And if I can do it for Him,
mm-hmm.
I'm wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
But religion has turned it around.
Mm-hmm.
God doesn't need anything. You need everything.
Right.
So get on your knees and beg.
Yeah.
This
Amen.
is.
And then who is it that we're actually begging to, which has never been told? It's been a mask put over the true creator's head, right? There have been principles of the divine that have been taken and flipped out of context. Lies have been told on top of
Who
it.
do you pray to when you're needy? Whoever will answer.
Right.
You're not particular.
Right.
And that's where idolatry comes in.
Correct.
Well, maybe that idol will give me what I need.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to serve the one who created you, because he created you
Right.
out of a need,
Mm-hmm.
so you are the needed one, not the needy one,
Mm-hmm.
we could have a beautiful life, a beautiful planet. The world can be what God needs.
Mm-hmm.
Can't get better than that.
Correct.
So we got to stop this neediness.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to even be born.
I agree.
So how do I become the needy one?
Right.
God, on the other hand, created the whole universe and he needs nothing. Does that make any sense?
Right. So, because we've been taken out of a natural creative process and we have been forced into a production line of creativity, humans are being bred like cattle and they're just being brought here. And I believe that a lot of it is against the will of people, and they're being brought here and thrown to the wolves.
How is this gender dysphoria?
Yeah.
What the heck is that?
A total confusion. We're so far away from truth.
Which begins in the theory of evolution.
Mm-hmm.
You evolved. Who says you have to be male? Who says you have to be female?
Right.
It's just an accident.
Right.
So fix it.
Right.
But if God created you male,
Mm-hmm.
then that's
what you are.
Yes.
And you can't not be that.
And you can't fail at it.
Correct. So the problem comes because humans need time to adapt. It takes a lot of time to develop a soul on its journey. And this is not a fly-by-night process. When you produce so many people on the planet, because it took 200 years to go from 1 billion to like 8 billion people on the planet, but it took 300,000 years to go from 4 million to 1 billion. So people have not had time to adapt to this artificial environment. And the male needs time to adapt within himself. If he doesn't have that time, he's going to be trapped in the lower nature of need, scarcity, and all of this stuff.
But we've already covered that.
Mm-hmm.
If men and women were separate,
Mm-hmm.
they would develop fine.
Right. They would.
So it's not that they need time to develop. Stop corrupting them.
Right. Stop putting them in the same environment. But now, where do they go? How do we separate the environment? Because there's so many people and we can't build on all the land that's here. We can't destroy the animals' natural habitat for us to take over,
I'm not worried about nature. Nature is powerful.
Yes.
I'm worried about us.
Yes.
Like, what are we doing to ourselves?
Yes.
And I think if we just stop ruining things,
right,
we would naturally be much better than we are.
Right.
So it's not that goodness is unnatural.
Right.
It's not.
Mm-hmm.
Goodness is the most natural of all things. But when you get greedy, you distort everything.
Mm-hmm.
So when people hear the truth,
yes,
most people,
right,
it just bingo.
Mm-hmm.
The light goes on and everything makes sense and
yes,
they're back into the saddle.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to take a long time.
Right, it doesn't.
But stop feeding them poison.
Correct. And they have to stop wanting the poison because they're addicted to the poison.
Yeah, well, we did that to them.
Yeah, we did.
Every commercial.
You
deserve.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Mm-hmm.
What did I do to deserve?
Because feeding a spirit of consumerism.
It makes you dependent and needy
mm-hmm.
when you're not.
Right. Because we're supposed to be producers. We have been producing. But the people who understand necessity is the mother of invention. All of your creators are people who need something. So there has been a systematic effort to keep people in need so that they continue to produce what can be capitalized on. So therein lies the problem. They produce and we trick them into consuming what we trick them into believing that we produce. We take their creative ideas and then we sell it back to them under some formula that they need to cope in this dysfunctional society that we've created.
So here's my solution. The Jewish solution.
Okay.
The need that motivates all our is not our need.
Right.
It's the Creator's need.
Yes.
Focus on the Creator's need. It will motivate you. It will produce good results, and it won't feed the lowest form of ego that is neither male nor female, that is neither good nor healthy. So I guess what we boil down to now, if you're not focused on morality, you're not going to be healthy. Not you're not going to be a saint.
Right.
You're not going to be sane.
Right. Correct.
Morality and sanity, they're inseparable.
Okay. I believe that men specifically absolutely need religion. They need to be trained. They need to be under some doctrine. They need a guide.
But not the religion
not
tells them
no,
they're
not
needy.
not that religion. True religion. True religion.
Which means God.
Which is God, right? Yeah. The true religion, which they don't know what that means, but they would have to be taught those based on universal principles that are unchanging. The religions that they're a part of, they stand on no principle. And if they do have any principle, it has been distorted and redirected into it.
I'm speaking to a minister. He says, "Do you believe in the Savior?" I said, "Actually, I'm not looking to be saved by God.
Right.
I want to serve God,
Right.
not have him serve me."
Right.
The man started to cry. He says, "I never thought of that.
Right.
God exists to help me? How does that make any sense? We're here to serve him. That solves 90% of your problems. Am I getting, am I having, am I happy? Drop it.
Which means that
Are you serving God?
Right.
That's all. That's all you need to worry about.
And the only challenge is that the person has to come out of their lower nature, because the nature of humans, as soon as we're born, is because we need, and we're trying to fulfill our needs. So
And that's childish.
right, that's childish. And
so grow up.
So nobody has actually been taught what it means to
Yeah.
grow up and how to be men and women. They haven't. And so they're all in an infantile state. And it's unfortunate, because once you get to a certain level, it becomes hard to reteach or train a person. So this has to be instilled very young. And if you don't instill it, well, who's the first teacher of the child? The mother's the first teacher of the child. So depending on if it's a male or female child, the education process has to change after a certain age, right? The mother nurtures, but for a boy child, that boy child has to be in the presence of a man who knows this, because if he is not, right?
Or a grandmother.
Or grandmother.
Grandmothers are so powerful.
Yes, they are.
They're so much more powerful than a mother.
They are. They're more respected. They are more knowledgeable, wise, right? And this is throughout the ages. It has always been the grandmother, even in nature, who carried the wisdom, because wisdom is the true teacher. Wisdom is everything. And I don't think that we value
grandmothers.
We don't. We criticize. There's ageism.
Old fashioned.
And so we're valuing youth. The reason that society values youth is because of the need to suck the life out of the youth. We don't value.
They spend more money.
They spend more money. They're more reckless. They go to jail. We can get higher insurance rates out of them due to their ignorance and their impulsivity. There is a need to feed off of the youthful energy, the life force energy that's concentrated in the youth. And so we devalue the elders who actually know how to get through in this world. Yes.
So our bottom line is,
Yes.
from all of our conversation,
Yes.
listen to your grandmother.
Yes, listen to your grandmother.
Really?
Yes.
That's what it boils down to.
Yes. Yes. And we just have to stop damaging people. And it's so bad because the damaged don't know that they're damaged. And so they have a repetitive cycle where they keep reproducing the same problem.
Yeah.
And so
when people say, so what should I do? What should I do? Listen to your
grandmother.
The solution is not far away.
Right.
It really is. If everyone listened to their grandmother, we would have an ideal society.
Well, yes and no. As long as the grandmother is not completely delusional and giving you bad information.
Or suffering from Alzheimer's.
Oh, so right, yeah. We have to consider that too.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
But that's really.
I want to help society figure this thing
You
out.
are helping society.
Yes.
But when you help society, and I think this is really, really important, you have this gardener
Yes.
who loves plants and flowers and beauty and really talented. You can't stand that neglected piece of lawn or yard. So he just goes in there and he cleans it up and he pretties it up and he plants it. And then suddenly some guy comes over and hands him a check. He says, what is this?
Right.
He says, well, that piece of property you just made beautiful, it's my land.
Yes.
So I owe you. Thank you. We're all making God's garden more beautiful with everything we do.
Yes.
Whoever invented the bread slicer,
yes.
Whoever invented the electric toothbrush,
Right.
You're making God's garden livable, better.
Yes.
You don't realize it.
Right.
You think you're just going to a boring job. But even if you work in a company and you're at the bottom of the heap, all you do is send out the package.
Yes.
In the shipping department.
What you do is valuable.
To whom?
Right.
That's the thing.
Yes.
You think you're making the yard nice?
No,
you're satisfying the owner's desire. You're serving God with everything you do.
Yes.
But you're just focused on whether you're making enough money.
Right.
Why do you have to go to work all the time? It's boring. We're actually fixing the world or serving society.
Yes.
You're serving God.
Correct.
Because whose society is it?
You're right. It's God's society.
Whose planet are we fixing here?
Correct.
So don't underestimate the gift and the significance of what you're doing.
Yes, sir.
You say, we started off saying this is life-saving.
Yes.
Who cares?
Right. God cares.
Yes.
That's the thing.
Whose life are you saving?
Right.
The life that God created.
Correct.
So you're serving Him.
We have to maintain. We have to maintain and do our part.
And then our ego can fall away. We don't need it.
Right.
We don't need it.
No, we don't. No, we don't.
And it's so much better to not be needy.
Yes, I agree. I totally agree.
It is so depressing.
Yes.
We're all messed up. The world is messed up. See what you can do. Make the best of it.
Yes.
What a depressing picture.
Right.
The world is not messed up. The world is great. And what God wants from His world is perfect. And you can do it. And you're doing it every day. So just open your eyes and stop torturing yourself.
Right.
But I don't have. But don't be miserable for nothing.
Right.
There's no need.
Yeah.
Serve God with joy means if you're serving yourself, there will be no joy.
Right.
But if you're serving God because you're not needy, you're needed,
right.
Of course you're going to be happy.
Right.
It's not that complicated.
No, I totally agree. I totally agree that it's not that complicated. As long as we can disconnect from all of the stuff that we've been told. Because
Right.
all of this stuff leads you away
And
from
we will be
that.
so glad to disconnect from it
Yes.
because it's so distasteful and important. Wake up in the morning and say, what can I do for God
Mm-hmm.
that he really needs?
Right.
Otherwise, you're just a pest.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So don't be God's pest.
Mm-hmm.
Do what he really needs.
Right.
What does he really need? Read the 10 Commandments.
Mm-hmm.
It's all there.
Yes.
So go for it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I have thoroughly enjoyed speaking with you, and I think that our audience is going to love this.
No, we didn't disagree enough, but all right.
Well, it's not so much about disagreeing. It's really about, is it the truth or not?
Yes.
Yes. That's it. So thank you so much for taking out time to meet with me. I surely appreciate it.
I think God is pleased.
I do too. Yes.
If you enjoyed this conversation or this topic and you're looking for more information or you want to hear it again from another angle, there's a way to do that. And that is in this book. It's all there. Order it from Amazon. You can read it, reread it, and share it.